Right, good evening, hello, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. It is, as you can see, apart from here, a bit of a chilly week down here in South Africa. Myself and Riza are all covered up. Rion's coming back from sickness, so he's embracing the elements. And then Chris, it must be getting much warmer for you, to be fair, that side of the world.
Yeah, not really, but we had our first, but we had our first big thunderstorm of the summer, which I love. So it means that the seasons are turning. So I enjoyed that, but actually not seasonally warm as it should be. Actually,
Okay,
I'm sure
well,
it will come.
it's at the moment the Joburg weather has been very emotional. It's we wake up when it's freezing, and then gets up to being mid-20s, and then it gets cold and even. So, autumn happening here, but yeah, chaps, lots to get through. A very interesting weekend of rugby, and yeah, it's good to have Rion back. It's good to be back on a Thursday night after we had technical difficulties last weekend and had to move it towards Friday. It's also good to be back on the main channel. Which we had a couple of difficulties last week, which is why it wasn't as much live content as we'd like. But this weekend, back to the URC, back to so many different watch-alongs and competitions. It's going to be a lot of fun. But first of all, Chris, I think we owe you a congratulations because the basic 7 is going quite well. I believe another victory last weekend.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Stuff the South African losses as long as the bets are coming in.
Well,
That's all that matters. Yeah. No, but yeah, it was
War
nice
profiteer is what you are.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been good as you said, Stephen. I've got some more bets for the guys later in the show, so hopefully we can keep building.
Yeah, no, cool. Good to see. So as you see in the top right corner of the show, is being brought to you by BetCozy, who are the official betting partners and help us power rugby on the channel. So big shout out to BetCozy. Again, if you want to jump on the betting advice that Chris does give, and as we will show you a bit later, it actually has been coming quite good so far. You can go and click the link in the description and go and sign up for a BetCozy account. We will be giving away free bets and stuff like that throughout the weekend and stuff like that throughout the rest of the month. So plenty to come there. But let's talk a little bit about last weekend, shall we? Because a week ago, I believe, Chris, and we'll verify when Riza comes back. But I believe that we had basically welcome back, Riza. I think the three of us had backed the Stormers to get the job done against Exeter, providing the conditions were good, which they actually were quite. And I backed the Lions to get the job, which actually turned out not to be the wildest shout, because I think they were definitely in with a chance. But Reason will come to you. 3 South African games, 3 South African losses, a step too far, a lot of excuses going around about travel and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, what I was saying is I think quarterfinals was probably about where we are as sides. The travel and the logistics were always going to catch up at a point. And but I don't think we should be ashamed of our first campaign in Europe across both the Champions and the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there for me. And there is a lot of whining and groaning going on, and a lot of defense from the European media, especially about how much we've moaned about it. And to be very fair, I think that we were outplayed all across the board, unfortunately. And it's just turned out that we just weren't good enough. And to be very honest, there's a lot of excuses about lethargy and management of schedules and reffing and all sorts of nonsense, which we'll get into in a little bit. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's not a complete blowout. I think that going into it, realistically, we were all expecting the other European sides to be better than their respective South African matchups. And I think it's turned out exactly how it should have, to be very honest. And if we had got any of those results, it probably should have been seen as an upset.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think the big thing obviously being that every single home team basically won last weekend, sort of highlighting the home ground advantage. But the Lions were, as usual, holding the South African, flag high and boldly trying to go where other teams didn't go. Rion, we'll go to you. Close but no cigar. But to be perfectly honest, I look back at that and think that's actually one that got away, as opposed to us not being good enough. You look at the stats, you look at the way we played in the game, and the Lions definitely could have won that game.
Yeah, it was great to see them put up a good fight. They defended much better than their compatriots, that's for sure. Especially Glasgow, the way they've been playing, they wouldn't be out of place in the big boy competition in the Champions Cup as well. So I was proud of the way they came along, but as well, same as all the other stuff, it's an away game. It looks like home advantage in this competition is everything. And it was just maybe a bridge too far. I think just one flight too many and one game too many. And also the Glasgow Warriors had a lot of their internationals back and fresh. And I think we did pretty well. Would have liked to win, but we can be proud of where we got to. I don't think anyone expected the Lions to be in the knockouts.
Yeah, look, I think, and it's interesting that we talk about Lions being the knockout stuff like that, and now we're going to talking about the theme of the show. We're going to talk about it a bit when we start looking this weekend. Is obviously going to the playoffs, and they're in there with a little bit of a shout, but Chris, from you, what positives can we take away? We talked about the experience of playing in these situations, playing in these sort of playoff games, stuff like that, and maybe something that a lot of these teams haven't done enough recently. But how much can we look at this entire sort of tournament over the last couple of months, and how much value do you think that's brought to our unions and to South African rugby in general?
Yeah, I think I might be a little bit more negative here. I think it's too much to ask to play URC and this competition. I know we don't want to say it's an excuse, but it's too much. You could see our teams ran out of steam, and I think one thing I noticed quite hectically was Dobbo before the Exeter game. He basically said they hadn't trained, they had no preparation, and I'm thinking to myself, big quarterfinal game, you had no preparation as a rugby player. You can't come in rearing to go, So I think for us, Stormers, it was also just very bizarre, everything about that game and how they looked. Sharks came out firing, which Stormers didn't, but they also ran out their legs. And of course, the Lions, I think they're better away side than home side. They seem to give up a good fight, and Glasgow are a very decent team at home. I enjoy it. I love the Heineken Cup. I think the semi-finals are the right teams there. But I don't know if it works, us having to play these two competitions going back and forth 7-8 times a season. I think to me it's ridiculous. I want us to be there, but I don't know. I don't have the answer, Steve, how we sort that out.
Yeah, I think a big thing is a lot more money, so that you talk about, I said, Dobbo not having the training sessions, and that was largely due to all of the travel issues that the Stormers had. And you said that it's an interesting one to try and get right, because it is a long haul flight, but at the end of the day, we've got to try and move to a situation where it doesn't have to be a long haul flight. If you know who your opposition is, let's say, you play on a Friday night, by Saturday it's confirmed. We need to be in a position where these teams are ready to fly out on a Sunday or Monday night and be there first thing Tuesday morning. So that you've got a full Tuesday to recover, Wednesday and Thursday, Friday. You can have a training session Wednesday, Thursday off, and a captain's run on Friday. So I think that the logistics obviously do seem to be the biggest obstacle. And it's a frustrating reason. And you don't want to talk about too much, but yeah, I agree. I think at this stage, it's just not working with the 24-hour journeys via Qatar, various different places. It's getting far too onerous to be spending 2-3 days traveling. And as I said, I think Stormers only left on Wednesday or Tuesday night. I think it was
late Tuesday, I think.
Yeah. But they got there that one day that Dobbo said they didn't even have that rundown session, not even a training session. And I think I'm sure you guys all played sport, right? I mean, when you're preparing for that big derby game on the weekend against your rivals, that whole week is big. And if you're like worried about flights and airports and cramped up in economy and how can you be ready for a big quarterfinal like that? I don't want to make an excuse, but Stormers didn't want to play that game. I don't know. Something was worse than the travel in that squad on Saturday. I don't know if it was missing Dion for real or what, but the body language was just so bad. Very strange.
Yeah, it was a very uncharacteristic Stormers performance, because they're not a side that usually lie down and give up, and they were never at the races throughout the entire game. Which is sad, because I think that if they were at the race, I think they could have given Exeter a good go. Look, I do think Exeter played particularly well. I thought that I've watched a couple of times, and it wasn't the same for the Exeter side that I've seen. So sometimes you do just come right at the right moments and make a bit of a late charge. But
watch Exeter beat what's her name and make it to the final.
Yeah, you can see
the way they've been going.
Dare to dream. Stuart Hobbs retiring. This is his last campaign. Imagine he goes and wins the Champions Cup.
But the ironic thing is, Exeter was supposed to be the tired team right after that mammoth game against Montpellier, and it was us that looked like we played 3 games 2 hours before.
Yeah, just to lump on that, I just think that I know it's a home game for them, but at the end of the day, it's not always going to be that situation, and everyone's going to have to travel at some point. And we wanted to be there. So the excuses can't come from us. We cannot sit back and say, well, oh, you know, it was the first campaign and we got it wrong or whatever, because that's not what the Stormers are doing. They're simply saying, well, all these things went against us, and it's like, well, take a bit of accountability, you know. Just a
I
little
think
bit.
Dobbo
Say,
said he won't play in travel. He said
Dobbo was
he
very,
just
very
didn't-
clear. He basically came out and
Yeah,
said,
he
no,
just said,
we,
no.
we didn't pitch
Our
up.
tactics were wrong. I let the team down. He didn't
no,
say
but,
it was.
but what I mean is that it should be more forthcoming than that, and go, well, actually, Dobbo, you didn't just get that. It wasn't just a case of like, oh, a couple of flights went wrong and we were late. You guys stuffed up. Like, you actually stuffed up the travel from a logistical point of view. You messed up. And so while you're not blaming the travel, you can say that it was a factor and a personal stuff up on your side.
But I think, guys, we haven't traveled well the whole season. Let's be fair. We said this before. Like, this was we were trying to call the games. I said we haven't traveled, so now another one. This was worried me that this was going to happen. Not as bad as it did. That was a bit sad to see, but it was really worrying me.
Yeah, and I think the whole traveling part's very interesting. And also, it's also interesting enough is that it wasn't just a case of the South African side struggling away from home. You know, all the sides that played away, all the sides played at home, had that home ground advantage.
Harlequins got smashed over here. I mean, if to lose in South Africa, would it have gone that same way? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Storm is the extra Chiefs at the Cape Town Stadium. I think it'll be a very different result. So what'll be interesting then for me is from the competition perspective is how many years will we ever be able to get it right where we will be able to play our semi-finals here, and will there, because obviously the finals and stuff are often predetermined. You know, they decide where the venue is before at the beginning of the season. You know, will we see a Heineken Cup final in South Africa? You know, and how long is it going to take for us to start being able to sit at the table and not just be the guest at the table, and actually sit there and say, right, no, actually we're in here. You know, we're bringing you in this competition. We're part of this competition. We want to have home finals. We want to make sure that, you know, if our teams are doing well and getting good seeds, that we can get home semi-finals, because that's, regardless of just the travelling, that is, at the end of the day, our home final is always going to be a best chance. Look at the Lions 3 Super Rugby finals in a row. Everyone always looks at the home one saying that's the one they should have won, and it was the one they should have won. But
you got to bring that up. Or therapy sessions now, thanks.
Well, I mean, sorry,
good. Just from that point of view, I just think that we are not far away from getting that. I think that we, as the unions, came in and said, well, we're happy to play this game for you just as long as you let us in, you know. And at the end of the day, we've come in and we've shown in terms of viewership, and the thing that really matters for these guys is the money aspect. And so I think after the successful first season in terms of attendances and so on, and maybe another 2 seasons, 1 or 2, and I'm sure that the unions will be sitting down and saying, well, listen, guys, you can see what we're bringing to the table in terms of the stuff that you actually want. It's time we get a seat at the table. I don't think we're going to be sitting here in 5 years talking about still wanting playoff games in South Africa. That's just my view.
Yeah, but you remember the New Zealand sides? I mean, they used to come over, scale a semi-final, and bugger off home across the wrong side of the world often. You know, they could do it. So I'm not sure.
Stormers and Chiefs. It's always those two teams. Doesn't matter which competition you're in. The Chiefs knocked the Stormers out in the quarters.
Yeah,
we're just notoriously bad travelers.
Oh, well, let's not forget that Cape Town is basically New Zealand home territory anyway. So
you make a very good point. That's interesting. It's an interesting concept. You know, the fact that we don't travel particularly well. What would be interesting for me is if we start seeing rugby become far more global in terms of people not just leaving South African shores but actually coming back after a few years. And I'm hoping we kind of get into that way. I've got no issue with players going overseas. What we'd like to see is almost a bit like what you see in football, where once a player goes overseas, it's not like, oh, well, he's overseas. It's, you could do a 2-year stint in the Premiership or a 2-year stint in the top 14. You can come back to a couple of years, go to Japan, and hopefully start seeing a far more sort of globalization where players are jet setters and going sort of everywhere all the time. It'll be interesting if that does start to happen, if that'll help us travel a bit better, where you've got players who are not going to France for the first time, and players who have played in these various leagues against some of these teams in these sort of conditions, and how that'll make, hopefully that's kind of what everybody was sort of saying was the silver lining of us going to Europe, is that people were hoping that we then become a better team in Europe, but we're still struggling to travel there.
It's the first time, eh? Let's maybe 2 or 3 years. Maybe we adjust. We make we get used to it. I think we can do it. Look at the USC. We started really badly, ended up to making the final. So I think this is a betting period. This was awakening. This was like, okay, yeah, we want to be serious contenders in this
Logistics
competition.
guys don't know who to talk to at the airport in France.
People are sitting saying, you need this visa. Like, what visa? Who's got a visa? What's going on here?
I mean, we had 25 years to sort out all those little things in Super Rugby.
They're looking at the size of Heathrow and they're just panicking. Like, I don't know what terminal to be in. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I am. As far east as travel to one of the 4 airports in New Zealand. Right, so the 3 teams are out, and a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. But now I think we turn to the real big thing, because at the end of the day, someone made a good point, and they said us being in the Champions Cup is far more about us being in the Champions Cup than actually doing well in the Champions Cup from a financial point of view. Being in the competition gives you that financial boost, rather than actually getting to semis or finals and stuff like that. So now we're back in the URC, and we've got 3 teams currently in the top 8. Now, it's obviously not as simple as just saying if you get top 8, then you guarantee qualification Champions Cup, because there's places available to the winner of the URC. If you win the champion, I don't think there's no teams that are still in the Champions Cup that are in the URC outside the top 8. But yeah, and obviously I think there's a guarantee that it has to be a Welsh side in there as well. So it's not quite as simple as that. But we do have 3 South African teams in the top 8 currently. The Lions, I think, were given by the URC an 18% chance of
it's not zero.
Well, that's literally why I went to the article, because I was like, what do they reckon? Yeah, because I was like,
I saw the same article.
But now it's and there's no excuses either. There's two weeks of 2 home games for all 4 unions. Stormers are just, for me, I mean, they're basically just making sure they're going to cement that second spot, get that home semi-final, and then if they can win that, get go and try and beat Leinster in Ireland. But for the Bulls and the Sharks, well, the Bulls, they won last week in the Currie Cup, but before that, they haven't won a URC game since January. The Sharks, it wasn't a bad result against Toulouse, and they won the week before, but they've also had their struggles. Rian, how do you see us going back to the URC here? What sort of chances are you giving us to still have 3 teams in the Champions Cup next season?
I think the Sharks, they're playing Benetton this weekend. They should. Well, we've said that so many times
exactly,
this year. They should win this easily, and then they take 35 points to 0 against Cardiff at home. So, and Benetton's on a bit of a run right now. I think they sent basically their strongest team over here. Yeah. They really want to qualify for the Champions Cup as well. I think they are one of the faster growing teams in the thing. So the Sharks should win that one. And I think they play Munster last at home as well. And Munster has been traveling very poorly. So I'm thinking the Sharks should be safe. The Bulls, they're playing Leinster and Zebra. I think Zebra is an easy beat. Leinster, we'll see what they do against the Lions. The Bulls haven't been playing that well. Their defense has been pretty poor. So I think almost the Lions have a better chance against Leinster currently than the Bulls do. So they are a bit touch and go. And then the Lions, 70% is not zero, but we need other guys to lose and that, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're doing better than last year, but not good enough yet.
Yeah, I think with the Lions, I think obviously they have to go basically go and beat Leinster with a bonus point on Saturday and beat Zebra. You get 10 points and hope that other results go their way. And it would probably be the most Lions thing ever for us to do that, to get into the top 8, and then for like Benetton to come 9th and win the Challenge Cup and knock us out.
Look, I think a lot of this depends on Cardiff, to be very honest. And they're sitting there, kind of the wild card in all of this, with games against Connacht and Ospreys left, either side of them on the table, and so they get 2 losses there, and suddenly we're looking at an equation where even if the Bulls don't quite get a result going the way, we still might have 3 teams sitting in the quite easily. Very comfortably, and the Stormers could do us a favour at the top of the table as well with a couple of wins there.
Yeah, and Connacht is playing very well, so they should be able to take Cardiff easily. It's the Ospreys which Ospreys shows up against Cardiff.
And it's now the time which I hate, where you have to start bringing out calculators. You have to start looking at like so many different factors on who the hell is going to go through, which all gets a bit complicated and stuff like that. yeah, we're gonna do quick fire predictions at the end. We've got Curry Cup and URC, so we've only got 2 competitions. We'll have to find something else to do as well. Maybe we'll break it into half.
Listen, I've got some refereeing stuff I want to talk about. So
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we
got
go.
it.
Okay, so should we go to the typical South African referee tangent? Here we go.
Yeah.
This is where all the
What did
comments
they
and everyone's
don't
gonna come
do
out
wrong
again
now?
share and talk about how all we do is bash referees. Right, Reza, go and bash your referees.
Yeah, referees were all cuck, and this is why the France are going to win the World Cup. Anyway, absolutely not. It's actually not. It's actually not what I want to say. It's to be very honest, it's twofold. There is a lot of outcry about refereeing at this point, and obviously citing Champions Cup and recent URC, and it's across the board at this point. And I totally agree with the sentiment that you cannot blame refereeing for the results in a lot of those games. But I do want to point out some decisions that were incredibly dodgy in that Sharks game. And to be very honest, Sharks didn't deserve to win that. Their second half was terrible. They threw away a lot of opportunities, and a couple of decisions wouldn't have mattered. But it was it. Sorry, let me just get this winger's name correct. Oh gosh, what's his next name now? I'll find it in a minute. But basically, Juan Cruz Malia. 14
Oh, he's
hits
the Argentine.
Yeah.
player.
correct, yeah. He came running across the line, and Mapimpi was almost stood exactly still, and he swung across the line, and he mistimed it, and he went head first into the side of Mapimpi's head. With his own head, knocked himself out and was out cold for a little bit, and got a yellow card for it. A mitigating factor was that Mapimpi apparently changed direction. When he changed direction, it was a bit of a stutter step. It wasn't exactly like a huge Ches and Colby sidestep, and that was apparently enough to say, no, definitely not a straight red for head-on-head contact, no wrap of the arms, nothing. This guy just went flat out, crashed into it. And I was sitting there going, and I even messaged, Rion responded to me on the day, and was like, guys, what do you think about this yellow card? I'm like, well, frankly, if that was a South African team, I can almost guarantee that's a straight red. And
Here it comes. The world hates South Africans. Oh no, get the
What I
Rusty
said
video
was,
out.
I don't think we'll
I
see
don't care.
reds.
I don't care.
think
I
we'll
don't
see
care.
reds in the knockouts.
I just don't. I actually just don't. Well, if you say so, real. But if I come across and I flip and headbutt an oak, and he had a stutter step in a game where it's all about changing direction, and that's apparently enough to get you down from a red to a yellow, and then come on and score a hat trick. That's kind of annoying. That's just my view on it, and I think that the quality of refereeing, it didn't even warrant a second look. It wasn't even much of a discussion between the TMO and the ref on the field. I just think that refereeing in general, not because of the South African team, but refereeing in general at this point is looking quite dire, and especially in a World Cup year, it needs some investigation.
The thing with the refereeing conversation is it's such a twofold conversation, because how much blame do you put on the refs, how much blame do you put on the change in laws and stuff like that, and the biggest thing is, I suppose, the inconsistencies, and that's what always the issue is that you see a decision and you sit there going, okay, cool, so that's the yellow card, and then you watch the next game, the same thing happens, and you're going, oh well, why is that a red card? Why is that a yellow card? So there's no doubt there's a lot of discrepancies in it, and to be honest, I think that the fact that the refereeing is such a big topical issue, and the fact that it's such a microscope, which is why I think it's such a masterstroke that Nigel Owens is going to join the Bok coaching staff. I think that is one of the most.
I thought that was off the table.
He said no.
Oh, he said no. What have I missed here? I've got it up for like 4 days.
No. To turn them down now.
Now we'll find another one.
Yeah, he said he's got other work and he's starting a family. They're adopting a kid, or they're trying to. So
we'll send him a South African kid. What's the issue here? You can come and choose one from like Parkham or something that's going to be. You can even pay for
I have to find another ref with good chips.
But a lot of referees are joining coaching staff, which I think is quite an interesting development.
The French have one on the payroll as well.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting year from a referee. I do think that World Rugby need to take a lot of accountability in terms of maybe a lot of inconsistencies with the way either the laws are being written or termed, or how the interpretation is going. But I think the biggest issue is that there's just doesn't seem whether it's too complex or whether we're not actually bothering ourselves to get to go spend the time getting into nitty gritty. At the end of the day, your average fan does not understand why what is a yellow card and what is a red card these days, and that makes for unpleasant viewing.
Did you see that the call against the Reds lock Angus Blythe? I think
That
it's
was the
Angus.
most ridiculous. He got a 3-week ban. A 3-week ban. The guy
Yeah,
almost took his
yeah.
head
But
off.
besides all that, the process to get him to red. Did you see that? Where the ref was like, okay, that looks pretty bad, yellow card. He goes and sits down, and then a TMO, not the main TMO, they have a separate TMO, has 8 minutes to check the footage while the game's going, and then he can upgrade it to a red. And that's
8
what
minutes.
happened. They told him, he's got 8 minutes in the upstairs to review the footage, and then he can tell the guy, okay, he radios the ref, tells the ref, okay, no, this is bad, make it a red card. And then the ref tells the guy, okay, you can't come back on the field, your yellow is now red. And
is that a Super Rugby?
Time to do it. Yeah, that's a Super Rugby method.
But they're looking at bringing that to the World Cup potentially. Apparently they're having a
they want to bring it in the World Cup so that the ref doesn't have that time pressure of looking at a big screen on the field, the crowd's baying for blood, all that
being
kind of
booed
stuff.
by the French crowd and all the stuff like that.
So a TMO in a box upstairs looks at it while the game carries on, and then they say, okay, it's a yellow still or it's a red now.
So it's 8 minutes. It's 8 minutes for Bismarck du Plessis to tear 3 other guys' heads off.
No. So he's already off.
The guy's yellow card
gets the yellow card and he's
off the
off.
field.
So while he's sitting on the bench, and I think also if he reviews it and like within like 4 minutes can go and say it's not a yellow card. I think they can actually and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they sort of if they do implement that sort of thing. I quite like, and I've always said we've got technology, let's use it, and then it's kind of been an overuse of it where they're now going back 45 phases to go and see if there might have been a potential forward pass, a type thing, and it becomes a very tiresome thing. But so I think the referee conversation to everyone, I think it's going to come up a lot this year. I'm very excited.
It's never going to go away.
No,
we're all talking circles every week. You just got to accept it's part of the game. Human error is part of the game.
I agree with you. But that, to me, that's the other part of this game. Is like people say, "Oh, let's not talk about the referees." I'm like, how can you not though? They are a part of the game. There's nothing wrong with having a discussion about it. It just depends how biased you actually are.
Well, I still maintain, I'm going to put my neck out, that a big game in the World Cup is going to have a very controversial referee decision decided. I'm betting that it's going to be France, but I'm telling you now, a big game is going to be decided on a controversial decision, and that's going to be sad. But
But I suppose that also comes back to sort of the whole home ground advantage that you always, that's why home ground advantage is so important, and not just obviously the World Cup would be in France, but for things like having that home semi-final where you're in that high pressure situation. World Cup feeds into each other, doesn't it?
But Steve, also in this France game, Sharks game, did you guys see when Pimpy scored and then the replay got shown over and over until the ref blew the forward pass? Exact same thing happened to Toulouse. Not a single replay in sight. I'm just saying. Just saying.
No, but that's why there's lots of calls that
happens here as well.
But that's not human error.
Victor Matfield stepped up a little bit because he came on and said, if this was Super Sport, we'd do the same thing. We'd also show.
Exactly.
I don't think.
There we go.
But that's.
I was at Ellis Park. When was it? 2014. Kano hit. Who was it? Lambie or something in the head, or Skulk going down in a tackle. I was in Ellis Park. That big screen, both sides was on repeat showing that head contact till the ref stopped the game and said, "Okay."
Then it's fair enough. Yeah.
I'm more shocked that those big screens are working, to be honest.
They are working. I'll be at Ellis Park this Saturday. You guys.
There we go. Rian can see the park and see how it's going. That's an interesting conversation because there's now been calls to have neutral television crews as well to not have. So if it's a Rugby World Cup in South Africa, SuperSport will not be the broadcaster.
That makes sense.
Or even just a neutral TV director, for example. So the SuperSport cameramen can all be there, but
there's no way.
We need captains just need to do a code and shout into the refs mic. You bloody SuperSport!
Literally.
You bloody bastards! Bloody hell!
Go full Virat Kohli on the mic stump, the stump mic.
Remember that SuperSport, you cheated!
It's still the best meme ever. But let's move on to this weekend, shall we? Because there's a lot of rugby. I'm going to do some quick fire predictions, and Rian wasn't here last weekend, so we're going to have to put him on the spot for them.
I got all of them right, in case you guys were wondering.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Okay,
you got
cool.
2 for 2. But before then, we're going to go to our betting segment. I'm going to bring Chris in here. Chris is going to give us some winning bets this weekend. that is what happened
Yeah.
last week, as well as season record and tonight's bets. Chris, over to you. Take us through this.
Yeah, guys. So we had last week, if you remember, we had 2 bets. We had the multi with 4 legs. We had the Bulls to win, which they did in the Currie Cup quite comfortably. Blues to win, which they did very comfortably. Leinster race to 20, which Leicester were giving them a game, but I always thought 20 points was enough into the game that they were putting away by then. And Clermont plus 5.5 got close. Clermont's been doing French things. They should have actually really won that game. They're down to 14 early in the first half as well. But anyway, the point spread covered, so we won that bet and was quite bullish on the Bulls on the single to win against Griquas, and it turned out to be too much class against that Griquas side. So yeah, we got up another couple of units. So we up the record 5-2, 5 wins, 2 losses to 6-unit wins. So it's quite a nice return on investments that we currently ticking over with. So yeah, I've come up with some bets again for the weekend. So this is obviously all through bets ZA and what markets I currently have available to look at up until showtime. So at the moment, I'm going to still keep the units quite low. I think I still want to just keep building this up, and then we can maybe take some bigger risks on higher odd multis in a few weeks' time. But the first one, which I really like, what you want to call it, or banker, if you want to call it, or the surer thing, is 1.5 units on overs in the Pacifica versus Reds games. They're playing in Pacifica, so it's going to be quite in Samoa, so it's going to be quite a game, quite an atmosphere. And both teams, I don't think they have defense coaches or even practice tackling. So I'm pretty sure that 52 should be covered. The only thing that could go against us is the conditions, because they haven't played there and it might be muggy. I haven't seen what conditions would be like there, but I'm still pretty confident on previous form lines that over 52 covers. Brumbies are at home to Fiji and Jura as well. Brumbies at home are just very, very solid. Jura away are not very good at all, and they're leaving some of their players behind. So the cap is 20. So we're saying, that Brumbies minus 10 means Brumbies will win by more than 10.5. So you'll look for the alternate cap line, as we discussed a few weeks ago. That's a lower price. So we're saying, Brumbies to win by more than 10. And then Gloucester play Bath at home tomorrow night. Just the way the season going, home team as well. Gloucester at home, they've got more to play for in the log position. Bath had a very, very good win against Exeter a few weeks ago, but they've had the break in between. So Gloucester had a very good win against La Rochelle. So I just think they are the better side, and a home win here should come in. I think Bath will be better than we expect, but I'm very confident that Gloucester wins. So that's a treble. That's a treble at 2.39, which you can currently get at that price on bet.coza. But assuming we have won a few units, I am going to stick my neck out on a bit of a bigger one, not on a big unit stake at this stage. But I've decided to go with this one because I'm quite confident on these points coming in. Brumbies over 40 team points is one leg. So we need Brumbies to get more than 40. I'm thinking that Brumbies could probably cover 50, get close to 50, maybe cover 50. Again, we've just spoken about the Reds and Pacifica over 58. We talked about the line cap, which is the middle, the 50-50 handicap that bookies give it. It's at 62. So we're still under the line cap at 58. I still think this game goes to 65 more points. If things should go well. And then I just be honest, I think if Bulls, Zebra, bottom of the log, Bulls are still playing for their spots. I think Bulls win by 50, to be honest. And we say Bulls minus 23.5, so they're to beat Zebra by more than 23.5. That's the line cap, actually. So the bookies are actually saying that Bulls win by 24. I'm saying that Bulls are going to win by 40. And that comes to 5.46 at 3/4 of a unit. So it's a little bit less. It's obviously half of the unit stake that we do in the first bet. But obviously, if it wins, we get 0.75 times those units. So it'll be a very nice profit if that comes in. I'm very confident in the first one to arrive, which still means we'll make a small amount of profit. But if we get that second multi, we'll be really well in A4 way onto a nice profit record. So, best of luck if you tail in. Very pretty high confident that these should arrive. Maybe one will get close, but I'm confident that they're all going to be very close or definitely winners.
I reckon I might go put my house on my car on the second one and We'll phone you guys from Mauritius next week.
Yeah, but we say, like I said, as I said, guys, unfortunately, at this time of the day, there's other games that I would be probably looking at, which I'll probably put in these, which I'll be more confident to bet more. But because we're limited to the Friday games and some Saturday games, I don't want to risk too much at this stage until we got a nice kitty. So perhaps we could take more risks. Like we say, we'll make an arrangement that I could get bets out to you guys on Fridays or Saturdays as well.
Yeah. Right. Well, if you do put some bets out on Twitter at the Crow Tips there, so
that's right. Yeah, there's my handle. So yes, I do post a couple of multis and triples every week, or even a line cap, whatever I feel strongly about. So yes, if you want more, I'm pretty active over the weekend, giving out more trebles and doubles and some other tips. Yeah, so sure, they'll be good.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So that's our betting tips for the week. As always, the big thank you to Chris, as well as to Bet Koza for being our betting partners and powering the betting segment and stuff like that. If you have any questions, stuff for Chris, as always, put them in the comments, stuff like that. And we can revisit them as well.
And also, I just say, if anyone wants to ask me any questions on Twitter, direct message me if you want. If the lines do move, if you see this in the morning, you'll probably go there. You might not get the same price and numbers. If you are willing to make a bet, give me a shout. I'm happy to help out, recreate that bet for you, or give you advice. So not an issue.
What a legend.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. And, well,
no worries.
He said what a legend now. We'll revisit in a week's time after we see whether they hit or not.
Well, we'll still be up, so that's why I'm feeling a little bit more, spicy this week. Yeah, I also like to live danger. Yeah, living on the edge, but yeah, we've got a little bit. So yeah, if these come home, it will be ace, and we'll be well away. So it'll be good.
All right, cool. I love it. Right, so thanks so much, Chris. And then we've got 5 minutes left. So what I want to try and do is I want to put some people in the spot here, and I want to do some quick fire predictions. You did it last week, and it was fun. Now the problem is we've only got 2 competitions really to look at, unless Chris, you back yourself to the Premiership.
Yeah, I can do Premiership
or Super Rugby.
Let's do it,
because I don't watch enough of either to do either. So.
Well, I would say, they're both my favorite comps. They're the ones I follow the most closely and has my money.
Okay, so which one do you want? Do you want Premiership Quickfire or do you want Super Rugby Quickfire?
Super Rugby.
Super Rugby. Okay. Rian, we're going to give you URC.
All right.
And then Reed's going to give you Curry Cup.
Oh, really?
Have it.
Come on, you gotta make things interesting. Okay,
I wasn't there. Someone else better go before me. What does quickfire mean? Explain.
Basically, I don't want you to explain. I don't want you to justify. I just want you to tell me who's winning by how much, and
then we judge you afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Although Chris, I see there's only about 4 Super Rugby games this weekend.
Yeah, so give me English Premier if you want as well. I'm not shy. I'm not
we'll
afraid.
Start with you. We'll do Super Rugby, then we're going to be on thing, and then we'll go back to the Premier. And then we're going to give Reza top 14, and then Rian, I'm going to give you Pro D2, and we'll finish with Chris doing some Japanese top league, and then maybe we'll do some Major League Rugby.
Yeah.
Whichever team Villarreal plays for wins.
There we go.
Yeah.
At half, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, are you ready for your 4 Super Rugby game?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so
let's
tomorrow,
go.
6 o'clock in the morning for us. Moana Pacifica versus Reds.
Reds by 7.
Reds by 7. Okay, then Brumbies versus the Drua.
Brumbies by 45 to 50.
Sorry?
Brumbies by 45 to 50 points.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, Hurricanes versus Chiefs.
Chiefs by 3.
Chiefs by 3. Nice close game. Then Waratahs Force.
Waratahs by 7 to 10. 7 to 10 points.
Okay. I love that Brumbies Drua chat. That's the kind of stuff I'm in for. That's the kind of confidence I like to see.
They're gonna know the draw. You'll see it.
Might actually have to watch the game now, knowing that's the apparently it's gonna be a good game.
It's just the Brumbies the Drua just gonna battle to live with the Brumbies. That's the problem. They just don't have the structure and the physicality, especially away. Brumbies at home. These guys, I think Reds, some of the other guys have put 50 past them already. So Brumbies are the best Aussie team. Why should they not do it again? Be good conditions as well. So changes for Drua, 40 plus.
There we go. You see, you need a suitable punch team when you've got Chris telling us why the Brumbies are right. Things you love to see. Okay, you've had a taste now, Rihanna. Are you ready for your URC games?
Let's do this. Yeah.
Okay, Sharks versus Benson.
Sharks by a score, 7 points.
7 points. Okay, Glasgow Scarlets.
Good game. Glasgow by about 15 points, I'd say.
Okay, Ulster Dragons.
Ulster smashed the Dragons by 25 points. Dwayne is playing.
There we go. Okay, Bulls Zebra.
Bulls by 5.
Oh,
Bad form.
Oh.
I love it. I love it. I'm not mad at that either. I'm not mad at that either. You can go fetch some Bulls fans with that. Lions Leinster.
Lions going to show everyone how to beat Leinster. No one's been able to do it.
Come on! Okay, love
This is my heart talking. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. The head's overrated. Okay, then Stormers Munster.
Stormers Blacklash, so going to be about 12 points to Stormers.
12 points. Okay, then Edinburgh Ospreys.
Ospreys by about 5.
By 5, and then Connacht Cardiff.
Connacht by 15 against Cardiff in a wet and windy Galway, the dog track.
Yeah, no, I like the Lions shot. I think the Bulls chat's a very interesting chat. I actually really like the
Bulls will be far ahead and then Zebra will come back. You'll see it.
No, I don't think it's a bad shot, to be honest. I think this Bulls team actually, I genuinely think that with things happening in Victoria, I think this Bulls team actually have it in them to lose that game. With how
No.
I think it could. It probably won't happen, but I genuinely wouldn't be that shocked if it did happen. 'Cause, yeah.
The defense. Oof.
No, well, what defense? That's the thing.
No, yeah.
Right.
I think for me it's Zebra. I have no time for Zebra. So if the Bulls can't, if they can't, then I'm
cool
fine.
But the Italians are up and coming, Chris.
Hey, look at Benetton.
Watch them. What? We're just thinking a win. No,
To be fair, when you say the Italians are up and coming, it's got nothing to do with Zebra. It's got everything to do with what's happening over in Treviso.
Yeah.
Zebra continue about this much Italian rugby right now. It's just Benetton. And then our Curry Cup expert.
Yeah, thanks.
It's not
Old lady of our rugby.
Right, so tomorrow is Sharks Bulls, 3:30.
Interesting game. I think it. Obviously, the Bulls are depleted this week, so I'm going to go Sharks by 12.
Sharks by 12. Province Cheetahs.
Another interesting one. I think I'm going to go Cheetahs by 15.
Cheetahs by 15. Interesting one, because as I said, it is the Cheetahs full strength side, but fine, back you. Griffins versus Pumas.
Pumas by 30 to 35.
Okay. And then Lions Breakers on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm backing an upset here, to be honest, but I'm going to go Lions by 10.
Is that the upset, or is this?
The upset is that I'm pretty sure I'm wrong on that.
Okay, I'm just checking what we classify as an upset right now. Be very clear about this.
But yeah, I hope that all comes to fruition. I've gone very safe this week, I think. But maybe Chris tells me different. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna put Chris's head back on the block with some Premiership rugby this weekend. Right, we've got also only. Am I correct to know he's getting 3 games this weekend? Eh? No, wait, 5 games. There we go. There's that. Right, Chris, you ready? Okay, so Gloucester versus Bath.
Gloucester by 9.
Gloucester by 9. Bristol versus Sale.
Sale by 3.
Okay, Northampton versus Saracens.
Northampton by 2.
Close weekend.
I know it's a dodgy one.
That's
a dodgy. Yeah. This one won't be so close. Harlequins will win going away 12 plus.
12 plus. Leicester versus Exeter. Last game of the weekend.
Leicester by 7.
7. Okay, so it's quite. Yeah, with apart from the Harlequins,
how many heads will Leicester bang up?
Yeah, I heard some rumor about England possibly doing a wild card for the World Cup and calling up Ruan Ackerman. I don't know how.
Really?
I don't know how true that is.
His knee was exploded last weekend, so I don't know if he's going to be able to make it by then.
Yeah,
I don't know why they haven't called him yet.
Yeah,
But
I
he's
wonder if this is back news from before the injury, and maybe he's missed
I
his
think there
shot.
was talks about it before his injury, but now his knees in the brace. I don't know.
I'd like to see it, to be
But-
honest. I really rate him. So, and he seems to
I
not-
followed Gloucester.
Yeah.
They my team in the Premiership, and he's been a very good
Yeah.
guy for years now.
Yeah, but also from a betting point, I mean, I love the competition's improved leaps and bounds, even though they're saying it's probably not as strong as they're thinking it is.
Excuse
But
me.
in terms of from betting angles, like Super Rugby and Prem are very good because you pretty much get the same sides playing each week. So form lines are much easier to read for me. So that's why I love English Premier and Super Rugby because my betting strategy. Some people love the numbers and it's raining and this much grass is on that side of the field, and I love the matchup. So if I see the matchup right in front of me, I call the games much better. So that's why I enjoy this game. Generally, the trends are quite solid, whether it's going to be high scoring, low scoring, and stuff.
Yeah. I'd love to pick your guys' brains about one last thing before we go, Steve, if that's okay. Our fellow pundits over at The Breakdown, I don't know how much you guys watch of them, but one of their most viral clips at the moment is the fact that Andre Pollard overrated comparisons to Sexton and Wilkinson. And I've just...
Got you boiling.
Yeah, I'm steaming a little bit, to be very honest.
You can see the steam coming out.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if this is for views or
No,
what.
we know it
but
is.
Yeah,
Of course it is. Yeah.
There's a very big Sexton versus Wilkinson conversation at the moment. Which I'm quite
Yeah, I saw
enjoying.
that.
I think Pollard's underachieved in his career. I'll be honest. I think he's
He never won anything big.
Yeah. He's had his moments. He had his knee injuries like they all do. He's playing brilliantly. I mean, if he could just hold on to this form now, in terms of form fly-offs, arguably he could be better. But yeah, as you want to, like over their careers, I think you can't argue with Sexton at the moment. He was the other one they said.
Pollard's going to
Sexton.
Well, I'm seeing some people going Sexton, some people going Wilkinson. I'm always been a big Sexton fan.
Oh no, Wilkinson. Wilkinson was a different type of. Wilkinson was a different.
I'm in two boats here because I see the Wilkinson Sexton argument and something that you mentioned, Chris, is something that goes across all sports. There's always this conversation about how much has a player achieved in terms of titles, achievements, all that kind of stuff. To point out that a guy like Tom Cleverley, which is probably a name you're not familiar with unless you watch United football,
I do know that. Yeah.
Now I don't know what to talk about.
What's a Cleverley?
Exactly, but the man has more league titles than Harry Kane, and you go, well, I mean, that's just kind of like, well, do we base it on that? The fact that you could be part of a squad wins consistently, or you could be a star player in a team that doesn't perform consistently over and over again, which is what I think Andre Pollard has been. And admittedly, he's gone through dips which are mostly injury enforced. But when he's playing, I mean, there's no one in the world that really stops him, to be in my opinion.
I don't know. I don't think he's that good.
I think Richie Mwanga and Bowden Barrett are clear of all three of them, but that's just my opinion. But
if you combine
waits until the end and then drops the bombshells here, dude. Now I want to box you. You're gonna sit here, disrespect my boy Johnny Sexton like that. Then you're just gonna throw in Richie Mwanga and Bowden Barrett after the last 2 years of terrible All Black performances we've seen, and you want me to just sign off after that?
But I think they've all had injuries as well. I just feels like even the period of time that Pollard, he seems to be around for ages. I don't think he's in that old yet, but I think
28.
he's had his dips. Okay, he's won a World Cup, but like Wilkinson and Sexton just seem to have had this constant high level thing going. Maybe it's not perceived. If I had really rated Pollard, I would have really felt it already. I've been like, no way, he's like up there. But I don't have that conviction to say he's at that level. I don't know why. I wish I did.
Who's been South Africa's best, most legendary 10s? We don't make
Henry Honeywell.
We make 9.
Come on, Butch James.
Not even any of you could
come on, lad. Back
none of
Butch
you could
James.
agree. Earl Rose. I mean, that guy is underrated.
I mean,
No,
you saw your
South
golf
Africa
clubs,
doesn't
but
make legendary 10s. We make legendary 9s because we play off 9
Yeah.
box kicks. So we just need a guy who can shuffle the ball on and maybe break their 10 in a head-eye tackle. Butch James
I
Pollard.
also
they
think
make
you're
all
just
that stuff.
you're not comparing apples with apples. I think, like Chris said, if you're going
Yeah.
on form alone, I think that Pollard is definitely up there. If we're talking about overall achievements in the career, I think Pollard's a long way off from finishing his career, and so that judgment is unfair at this point.
If he wins another World
Agreed.
Cup, but he needs then definitely. But yeah,
But
right now,
it's an interesting World Cup coming up because if Sexton it does come back and Ireland do win the World Cup, I don't think you can argue too much against. I mean, first of all, he's a World Player of the Year already, Irish Grand Slam at 37. If he wins the World Cup at 37, well, he'll actually be 38 by the time he goes to the World Cup, and he was nominated for World Player of the Year last year at 37. So I'm a big advocate of Sexton. I know a lot of people. He's very
most
annoying
points
as
in
a
the
captain.
Six Nations,
Yeah, and
most points for Ireland.
and just what he does, just what he does to the Irish team. I like Byrne. I think he's a nice player. When Sexton plays for Ireland, it's a whole different prospect.
I think a lot rides on this World Cup. I think you're absolutely correct there. If Ireland crash out in the group stages, we will not be talking about them in the same, and we go on to win, and vice versa. We're definitely not going to be sitting here having this conversation. One of them is going to be very obviously on top.
Look, at the end of the day, if we don't win the World Cup, we're going to be talking about Finn Russell as the best flyer of all time when he guides Scotland to it. So,
There's my boy, yeah,
you know.
that man.
But right, chat. Thank you very much. Yeah, we definitely need to pencil a couple of best 10s, best 9s, some controversial picks there as well. Best captains, for example. There's lots of stuff we must get into, and we'll do that in the coming shows. Because we're actually about to come to a bit of a rugby halt in the next couple of weeks because after this we're going to the URC playoffs and there'll be fewer and fewer games up until the first international game, which is the 5th of July, which feels like a very long time away. So yeah, enjoy the rugby while it lasts because it's going to get fewer and fewer in the next couple of weeks. We have to really get into even varsity cups coming to an end. So yeah, but chat, as always, thank you very much for joining me. If there were any in the comments, thank you very much. I didn't get to too many of them. Yeah, we will see you guys next week. This will obviously also be available on all your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and the works. So if you'd like to listen to us back in the car, then you can, and stuff like that. But until then, we'll be live over the weekend. We're going to be doing all 4 URC games. Might even throw a couple of Curry Cup games in as well. So plenty of live watch-alongs to come. Thank you very much. Please do smash like on the video on the way out and subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll see you guys all next time.